Hi, my name is Raghav Bagdi, and I chose the story A Scandal in Bohemia. So for the exposition, um, Watson visits Sherlock Holmes. Holmes explains that he expects a visit from a gentleman who turns out to be the King of Bohemia. For the rising action, Holmes asks the King of Bohemia questions. Holmes then makes a plan that will get Irene to tell him where the photo is located. To the climax, in front of Adler's house, Holmes pretends to get hurt. She takes him into her house. On Holmes' signal, Watson throws a smoke bomb and yells fire. Irene Adler runs to the photo and she realizes it's a false alarm. For the following action, after explaining what happened to Watson, the King, Watson, and Holmes visit Irene's house. They find that she left her home and got married to an English lawyer with the last name Norton. For the resolution, Irene Adler left the photo with Sherlock Holmes with the letter. The king wanted the photo, but in the end, he reluctantly let Holmes have it. For the story elements, for the characters, there's Sherlock Holmes. He's a great detective with very little social skills. There's Dr. John Watson, the narrator of all the stories, and he's Holmes' partner. There's Irene Adler, who's Sherlock Holmes' significant other and plays the antagonist role in this story. There's Godfrey Norton. He's a lawyer and he's Adler's fiance. And there's the King of Bohemia, who's Holmes and Watson's client, and he's the former lover of Irene Adler. For the setting, the house was 221B Baker Street, and it was located in London, England. And the era was the late 19th century. For the theme, it was justice and judgment, because Holmes isn't a superhero. He's a private detective, which means that he doesn't have to follow all the police's rules. For the conflict, there's two. One of them is the King of Bohemia had an affair with Irene Adler, and she was blackmailing him. And the other one was the King asked Sherlock Holmes to stop Adler from ruining the king. For the plot, there was many main events. A couple where Watson got married and Holmes was back at Baker Street, alternating with between cocaine and criminal cases, and Watson stops by and the two joke around with each other, and at the end Sherlock asks if John can remember how many stairs he climbed up walking to the apartment. Another one was when a client stops and he turned out to be the King of Bohemia and he wants their help to stop Adler from blackmailing him. And another one was Holmes used a disguise to recover the photo from Adler's house, but eventually Watson threw a smoke bomb, causing her to go to a different place. So they can figure out where the photo is, but they don't get the photo. and another one was the King of Bohemia arrives at Sherlock's apartment, and they go to Adler's home, and Holmes gets a letter saying that um, Adler has been on his trail the whole time and greeted him the other day, but he didn't know, and that she was gonna keep the photos but not blackmail the king. And it ends when with Sherlock keeping the picture of Adler and naming her the ultimate woman. For the forensic elements and deductive conclusions, there was a couple. There was one where the paper, they found out that it was too strong and thick to be local, so they figured out that it was from another country, which ended up being Bohemia. And Sherlock and Watson also figured out that the letter was strong handwriting, so they figured out it was written by a man. And at the beginning of the story, there was like something that said to Sherlock Holmes from the woman, and that foreshadows to later when we figured out that that was Irene Adler. And when it says that Sherlock is switching from week to week from cocaine and ambition, that shows that when he doesn't have an interesting case, then he gets his mind falls into other temptations. So for the characters, there were four main characters. There was the King of Bohemia, who he's Holmes' client, and he's the former lover of Irene Adler, and he was trying to recover an unfortunate photograph of himself and Irene Adler, and he didn't want it to reach his soon-to-be bride before he got married. There was Sherlock Holmes. He was the main character. He wasn't really fond of other people. He was very smart, and he was kind of a drug addict, and he was working unofficially to fight crime. There's Dr. John Watson, and he is a smart man. He's a medical doctor who everyone respects, and he always carries a gun in the most dangerous encounters. There's Irene Adler, who's a singer and a normal, a general lady, who, after she had an affair with the King of Bohemia, she retired to London and has a picture of her, the King of Bohemia. That should be it.